Ladies and gentlemen, greetings and welcome to Let's Talk Theory, the show where we analyze some idea and hypothesis about our favorite subjects. I'm your host Zelrix, and today we're going back to my second favorite movie, Coraline. This episode will once again focus on the book and the movie. Since the first episode on Coraline came out, I went through the entire book and I found some things. Way too many things actually. That's why today we are focusing on one of the most enigmatic character, Wybie. And this episode is going to explain not one, but two theories on that character. So with no further ado, let's talk theory. The first theory is about the role Wybie has to play in the movie. What if he was not on Coraline's side? First of all, in the first episode I told you that the old dwell was actually a portal to the other world. Maybe I should develop. This dwell is described by Wybie as something so deep that if you were to fall into it, you would see the stars in the middle of the day. When you look at the tunnel, you can see the color at some evocation of space. That's at least how I see it, pushing further the idea that the dwell is a way to the other world. Also, in the book, when Coraline throws the key in the dwell, it takes 40 seconds for her to hear the sound of the key touching the water. This dwell is deep, so deep that it goes right into the other world. Why is that important? Because it means that at the end of the movie, the beldam actually managed to get the key back. And who plays a big part in that process in the movie? Wybie and his cat. Without him, Coraline would not have managed to throw the key in the dwell. We could also note that Wybie is the one giving the doll to Coraline in the movie. Yes, he did not seem to be aware of what the doll was, but he could be lying. And if you remember correctly, in the book, there is a sentence about that fact. The tunnel to the other world is actually something sentient, far more ancient than the other mother. She knew that if she fell in that corridor, she might never get up again. Whatever that corridor was older by far than the other mother. It was deep and slow, and it knew that she was there. This idea is reinforced by the rats. They do not have button eyes in the book and they sing these lyrics.
We are small but we are many. We are many, we are small. We were here before you rose. We will be here when you fall.
We were here before you rose. We will be here when you fall. Maybe the rats are not talking about Coraline. Maybe the rats are lurking, waiting for the beldam to fall to allow their true master, the tunnel, to rise and take over the worlds. The point is, the tunnel is a monster. What you have to remember is that in the book, I don't think there is said that the rat have button eyes. As a matter of fact, I seem to recall they have no button on their eyes. They're just some kind of regular rats. So maybe they are not working for the other mother, or at least they were not created by the other mother.
We have eyes and we have nurses. We have tails, we have teeth. You'll all get what you deserve when we rise from underneath.
Those are other lyrics from another song sang by the rats. Those words might be a clue towards this monster invading our world. And what if this monster was Wybie? What if the tunnel monster from the book is actually Wybie from the movie? I was pretty concerned when I saw that the tunnel was described as a breeding monster in the book, while it's not the case in the movie. But you know what? Wybie is not in the book, so the monster disappears in the adaptation, but Wybie pops out of nowhere. Pretty suspicious. Finally, the big detail is him, the other Wybie, created by the other mother. He helps Coraline escape. It's the only thing created by the Beldam which actually betrays her. Maybe that if what is good in our world is bad in the other world, what is bad in our world is good in the other world. Maybe the Beldam created a good version of Wybie, thinking she was actually creating a way to manipulate Coraline. And once again, Wybie is not in the book, so the other Wybie is not in the book either. This is movie version. So Wybie could be the monster. This is the first theory. Our second theory is going to tie up the Graveyard Book, a novel written by Coraline's author Neil Gaiman, to the canon of the Coraline movie. Once again, if you don't want a spoiler for any of those books, read them first and come back. The Graveyard Books takes inspiration from the Jungle Book, except this time Bud, the main character, is raised in a graveyard by ghosts and monsters instead of animal like Mowgli in the Jungle Book. What if Wybie was Coraline's version of the character Bud in the Graveyard Book? Many clues are at our disposition for that. First of all, Bud, the main character, is described as somebody who have too much long hair in the book. Even Scarlet, one of the characters, says at the end of the book that he needs a haircut. Have you seen Wybie's hair? You could lose a Beldam in those. Second clue, Bud is short for Nobody Owens, where Wybie is short for Wybie Lovat. Both characters have nicknames to camouflage their ironical and, let's be honest, pretty sad real names. Third clue, in the Graveyard Book, when Silas, Bud's guardian in the graveyard, is hit by a car, Bud lies to the policeman and tells them that he was his father. That would explain Wybie's grandma. Maybe Wybie's grandma is actually a ghost, taking care of little Wybie. You can also note that both Silas and Wybie's grandma don't like their protege to get too far, acting like chopper parents. Wybie's grandma don't want Wybie in the Pink Palace, while Silas don't want Bud in the human world. He wants him in the graveyard. Fourth clue. Bud spent years in the graveyard, perfectioning some kind of spells and ghost abilities, and he finally uses them to save Scarlet, his only human friend. Even though Wybie does not have any kind of clear superpower, he is very skilled for his young age, and uses those skills to help Coraline. The parallel between Bud and Wybie is established. Fifth clue. Wybie's family name is Lovat. Comes from French louvet or louveteau, which translates to young wolf. And in the book, one of the many monsters who raised Bud was Miss Lupescu, his nanny while his guardian Silas is away, of course. She played a big part in the process of turning Bud into what he is at the end of the book. In the meantime, Wybie is named Little Wolf, and Bud was raised by Miss Lupescu, who is, drumroll, a werewolf. Sixth clue. The main antagonists of the books are the organization known as the Jack of all trade. Although it is not crystal clear what they are, they say their job is to guard the border. But the border of what? Maybe breaches that lead to other world. After all, they are strong enough to take on ghosts, vampires, zombie, werewolves. Seventh and final clue. At the end of the book, Bud sent one of the Jack of all trade to the crypt, where he is dragged down by the creature who lives in it. Maybe he was dragged down to a dimension resembling the other world. I'm gonna tell you, I read the two books, and the scene where Coraline goes into the other world is described pretty similarly to the scene where the Jack is dragged down to the crypt. There are both tunnels with monsters in them. We could also argue that, they are not named the same, they are not in the same environment, but once again, it's about adapting the source material to make a movie, not copy-paste it. The book Coraline is very different from the movie, and if Wybie represents the equivalent of Bud in this universe, I I'm aware that he might be very different too. Wybie, little boy, friend, orphan raised by ghosts, or almighty demon from another dimension? What do you think about it? Tell me in the comment below, and remember to subscribe for more theories. Activate the bell. Follow me on Instagram if you want to support my artwork. Share this video, and as always, thanks for watching.